Welcome back, you guys. Welcome back to Trinity and Fitness Bootcamp. So, listen, we are in chapter 4 of Daniel, God's plan, leadership through the book of Daniel. Now, chapter 4, I love chapter 4. Before I created this program of taking you guys through the leadership through Daniel, I was doing my own. I was just creating notes on how I'm going to teach a class. So I was just going to teach a class off of chapter 4. But I realized, wait a minute, I want to see the leadership throughout the book of Daniel. So I'm going to go over, one of the classes that I gave. So you're going to get 2 classes today. You're going to get a short version of the class that I created first before I did this program. So chapter 4, excuse me, I titled this Exploring the True Self. Now, in chapter 4, we know King Nebuchadnezzar, in the beginning, he gave this speech and he was talking about God's greatness over everything, how God works miracles and blessings over his life, and God's the kingdom, he's everything. But he was still so prideful. He was very prideful, right? So then he begins to talk about the second dream. So this one, the reason why I took to it because it made me think about exploring your true self. See, God will show you visions. He'll show you dreams. It's always warning before destruction. So he began to tell his second dream and he called everybody, his wise men and everyone to interpret it. But of course, they couldn't interpret it. Only Daniel could. So Daniel listened to him and then Daniel interpreted. But before we even got to that part, I just had to go about Daniel's name. They renamed him to Belteshazzar. So, and that is just the name of, Belteshazzar is the name he named Daniel after his God, lowercase g God, right? So the dream made King Nebuchadnezzar afraid. He was so afraid. He seen the Holy One and he said, but before he got into all that, but before he seen the Holy One, the vision was of a large, beautiful tree, of course, right? It's a beautiful tree that can be seen throughout the earth and touch the heavens. It could feed the world with its fruits. The birds loved it and and all of things, all flesh fed from it. And that's chapter 4 and 12. So I was thinking about in order to explore your true, authentic self, you have to put flesh to death. Now, and the reason why I came up with that is because in the end, King Nebuchadnezzar had to humble himself. So Belteshazzar is the Hebrew meaning of protect the king, or Bel protects the king, which is Bel is the lowercase g God. It is the Babylonian God. Marduk is how you pronounce it. Marduk meaning Lord or Master. So in 4:13, God enters the chat. I love this. I love the whole God's plan because when God entered the chat, things change. It looks kind of shaky, like, wait a minute, what just happened? Because when he enters the room, he shakes things up. So when God entered the chat and said, cut the tree down and the branches, strip the leaves, and scatter the fruit, the animals, which are the beasts, and birds got to go. That's pretty much what he said. So he was telling them in 4:12 about the dream before the Holy One entered. But then when the Holy One, he seen the Holy One, got into the chat, this is what God said. But God said, leave the stump. See, God is a merciful God. He is his grace, just how he loves us, meaning that I will take everything from you, but I will give you one more chance. He said, but leave the stump and the roots bound with iron and bronze, right? So Daniel, he had to listen to this. I know Daniel got tired of folks. So Daniel had to listen to it. So let's look at it. So the tree was the king because he was strong and greatness has reached heaven and dominion, right? To the ends of the earth. God decreed, you will be driven away from people. You will eat grass like the ox over 7 times passed over until you recognize God as God of all gods and things. Now, listen, the stump and the roots meant your kingdom will be restored when you acknowledge heaven rules. He has to repent in order to redeem himself. So when I was talking about, when I read about in chapter 4:12, when I said in order to explore your true authentic self, you have to put flesh to death. So after he told him that everything would be restored to him, but he had to repent. Now, of course, King Nebuchadnezzar, of course, he do what he want to do because that's just what he do. He continued to beat his chest. He continued to say, yeah, God is everything, but I did. Look at me. So 12 months later, he still was stuck on himself. Now that's when God spoke, and since he didn't repent, and so the prophecy had to be fulfilled. Now, in the mix of the prophecy having to be fulfilled, everybody think it's a joke and it's a game because God don't react in the moment that they want, they expected us to react. When it says, you do that, God is going to come and he's going to strike down, and people think, well, he ain't happy. Well, he ain't struck me down yet. It's timing, God's timing in all things. So after the 7 times passed over, he finally repented and accepted God as the God of all gods and everything. God restored him and he became a better leader. But you had to remember, God had to show him, because after those 12 months, the prophecy was fulfilled. He was out there grazing like the ox. He was out there like he lost his mind. He was just out there in them streets. He was just out there. But God, once he repented, listen, after the 7th time passed over, after he repented and he accepted God as God and he realized that he had to put flesh to death, God restored and he became a better leader. So when God enters the chat, he will restore us to our true self. God's plan will be the final plan, but in order to be restored, you have to put or cut down that tree, flesh to death, built from your survival self. That is part of the healing, right? So we're going to get into what today's teaching is about. Today's teaching is, of course, God's plan, chapter 4, but I'm going to do a recap of what chapter 3 was. So in Daniel's chapter 3, King Nebuchadnezzar commanded everyone to bow down to a golden statue, but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to. Even under the threat of being thrown into the furnace, they chose to stand firm in their faith and not compromise. They were thrown in the fire, but God was with them, and they came out unharmed, and they didn't even smell like smoke, okay? Let me explain to you how hot it was. That people that was standing by was melting. People that was just around was just dying. That's how hot it was. But when they went in there, baby, there was no smoke smell. There was no nothing. And the reason why is because God is everything. God is the fire, right? So their obedience and courage revealed God's power. And the king recognized God because of their stand. And that's why I always tell people, be the example. Don't worry about what people say. Don't worry about how they come at you. Don't worry about anything. Be the example. You may not change this person, but they see who you're becoming and what you're doing. So just by them and their obedience and their courage, the King Nebuchadnezzar was able to see God because of their stand. Now, with chapter 3, it teaches that standing firm in your faith, even under pressure, allows God to show up, protect you, and receive the glory. Listen, whenever God is putting you to the test, whenever you're operating in purpose, this will allow God to show up, protect you, and receive the glory. So stop waiting for something to happen. Just know, keep operating in your purpose and doing what you're supposed to do. God will show up, protect you, and receive the glory. Now let's get into Daniel's 4. This topic is pride and humility. Now, our leadership focus that we're going to focus on today is character, humility, and giving God the glory. Now, you can reference all this in chapter 4. Okay, so today we're going to talk about something that's important about leadership. As I always say, everything's important when I say in leadership. Humility and character. Talent can make someone successful, but character determines how long they stay successful. In chapter 4, King Nebuchadnezzar was powerful, successful, and wealthy, but he had a pride problem. He believed he built everything in his own power, and God had to humble him. So this chapter teaches us the powerful leadership lesson that if we don't humble ourselves, life will humble us. Great leaders do not just have talent and vision. We don't just walk around here with all this talent and vision. Well, I do, but no, really. But no, great leaders do not just have talent and vision. We have humility and character. Your humility and character is what keeps the doors open, as we talked about in chapter 1 and 2. It keeps the doors open. It brings us to the room. It allows us to stay in the room, right? So always remember, it's not the talent and the vision. I have the programs. I can teach the program. I can life coach. I can physical train. I can teach you how to do a thing. But it's my humility and my character that will help others change their lives. So, pride is dangerous for leaders. How is pride dangerous to leaders? Look at the king. The king said, look what I built. Now, listen. If that ain't enough for you to say, okay, God is real because look what I built. And then he had the second dream. God kept showing him dreams because he was special, right? We look at him as like, no, you came and took over the land and you stole Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You made them part of your council. You took over their land. But no, it says in Daniel 1 that God delivered or handed over the land to him because it was God's plan anyway to change his heart. See, even though he went in, which he thought he was doing a good thing, right? I'm the king, I'm taking over in his eyes because he was in survival mode. Let's talk about that. When you're in survival mode, you don't know anything about truth or authentic or real. You know what you were raised into, and he was raised into, okay, I'm the king, I have to conquer. But God allowed that to happen because God, at the end of the day, we belong to God. We come from him. He is our father. And before God took him completely out and said, listen, I'm going to give you one more chance. And it's because you didn't know any better. He was a fool. The king said, look what I built. And God showed him, no, this is what I built. So he took credit for everything and he forgot God gave him the ability and opportunity. But let's look at the word forgot. Did he really forget? Or did he never know? Because remember, he's worshiping his God, which is lowercase g. So his God is all about survival mode. Let's talk about it. His God is all about survival mode. See, we have to conquer. You're doing a good thing. There is no love, no joy, and peace. There's no fruits. There's none of that. It's just that we have to conquer. We have to do this thing. It's about us. See, that's why I tell you guys, purpose and passion. Purpose is of God. How can I help others? Passion is self. I did. How can I help me? So pride makes leaders forget who helped them and who blessed them. Okay? Pride will make leaders forget who helped them and blessed them. Listen. My time in the military, it was so many leaders that I, crossed paths with, and some was just so prideful. They made rank so fast, and they were just so bold. Look at me. Don't talk to me. I've done this. I did that. Now, but look how many people you stepped over to get there. One. And your promotion didn't come from man. It came from God. So have you ever seen someone lose everything because of pride? Because Nebuchadnezzar, he lost it quickly. And God meant what he said. That's how God will stand on business. I showed you, I gave you the warning. I showed you the dream. And not only, look how good God is. Not only did he show him the dream, he sent him an interpreter to tell him what it means. And he still beat his chest. Listen, God cares about character more than status. God cares about character more than status. The king lost his position for a season. He lived like the animals. God allowed him to be humble so he could be restored correctly. When you put flesh to death, this is part of the healing journey that I teach you guys. In order to get to your true authentic self, to be the person that God called you to be, for God to restore you correctly, you have to put flesh to death. Flesh is survival mode. That's the only way. Because once you're at your true authentic self, that means that you know who you are, you know who God is and who you belong to. You know these things. So there is nothing, no lowercase g, no goddess, no this, no that, no one with the earth, no one with the moon, none of that. No moon water, no rituals, no affirmations, no back and forth lighting candles under the moon, none of that. God allowed him to be humbled so he could be restored. So instead of, let's look at the lesson in that. Most people, when they lose everything, right, because of their pride, they go back to God. Now, everybody always go back to God. They beat their chest and they yell, God, what about me? Why is this happening to me? This, me. Everybody get mad and go to God. But nobody ever take accountability and look within. Why not you? Why not you? Tell God why it shouldn't have been you. Truthfully, stand in truth and tell God why it shouldn't have been you. Well, I give everybody, I'm always there for people and I always take care of them and I do this because you don't really want to know the truth. Did God send you there to give them the shirt off your back? Or was that a you thing? Because you didn't hear my voice. You did what you wanted to do. But I'm going to go ahead and strip everything and I'm going to restore it correctly. Okay? God is more concerned about who you are than what you achieve. Remember that. God is more concerned about who you are than what you will or have achieved or what you can achieve. So humility comes before promotion. Man, let me tell you something. After, so let's talk about this one first. Let me hit this point. After he humbled himself, right? His kingdom was restored, but he had to humble himself. He gave God the glory after the fact. Then he became a better leader. So humility comes before promotion. Pride comes before the fall. Now, it's so amazing how that happens with the humility comes before promotion. Because you go through so much and you're just like, God, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Because you have to, I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. You have to look at it like this. When it is time for you to do a thing, when it's time to be promoted, you can't go into your new era or this new that God created for you, right? You cannot go to the other side. You can't go to the milk and honey until you get rid of the wilderness, which is confusion. You can't take the confusion into the land of milk and honey. The wilderness is confusion. You cannot go into the milk and honey where God have you to be with confusion. What is the confusion? Survival mode. You have to cut away from survival mode. See, in all my teachers, I teach you about leadership, stepping into leadership. But in order to step fully into your leadership, you have to heal. Leadership, your purpose in leadership is your promotion, but you have to heal. You have to cut away from the survival mode of what you were taught and what people told you were supposed to do. You got to do people pleasing, blah, 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 blah. Everything that you learned all the way up until this point. You have to cut that away. You got to do away with it so you can step into your leadership position. So yes, humility comes before promotion and pride comes before the fall. So leaders must always give God the glory, and that's the most important thing. You have to always give credit back to God. It is nothing that I do that was of me. The whole idea of me teaching these leadership programs and teaching the physical fitness programs and things like that, it has nothing to do with me. It was my calling to do. So I have to give the glory back to God. So leaders must always give God the glory. Daniel always gave God credit, no matter what. Every time he interpreted the dream throughout the entire book of Daniel, he always gave God the credit. Even when he was getting thrown into the lion's den, listen, he knew that if he worshiped God I am, that he would be thrown into the lion's den. And guess what? God is going to get all the credit. God got me. And if I got to go, then hey, I'm going to a better place. I ain't got to be here with you. But the king learned to give God credit. Daniel always gave God credit. The king learned to give God credit. Leaders who stay humble last longer. Now, it's the reason why I said it that way. Daniel always gave God credit. Chosen. That's who he was destined and born to be. Right? The king, he was not. He was not. The king was brought into survival mode. You just have some things in your life. So let's look at Daniel and the king. The king was in survival mode. Daniel was the example for him to get him where he needed to be. And we have people like that in our lives. That we're going through things, but when we see this certain type of person, how they move, their character, everything about them, it makes us want to do better. You think that person just came in your life for no reason? No, it was God's plan. That's why it's so important, even as me, to always stay in my leadership position. Always be ready to stand firm, live by example, do what I'm supposed to do. Always, because you never know who God is about to make you cross paths with. And I will miss my God-blessed opportunity if I'm not, or if I'm taking my leadership as a character. I put it on when I'm outside, and when I'm in the house, I take it off. No. Integrity and accountability. When no one's around, I still am who I say I am. Same way with you is so important. Your testimony is so important. Someone needs you. You cross paths with people for a reason. So Daniel he always gave God credit because he know who God is. The king had to learn to give God credit through Daniel, because Daniel never broke. No. So leaders who stay humble, they last longer. When you remember who gave it to you, you won't lose it. Now listen, let's get into our RPI reflection, right? Y'all know what the RPI is. For the ones that's new, first off, thank you for joining this platform to listen to me. And for my regulars, you already know my RPI. So the RPI is the 5 pillars of the Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp. It is the foundation of it. Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp is the spiritual, mental, and the physical. I teach you how to heal all 3, whole body, holistic, right? And then the RPI is your checks and balances. This is the foundation of what Trinity of Fitness was built on. And how do you use it as a checks and balance? You acknowledge, you release, you practice. I'm going to acknowledge if there's a problem. I acknowledge the problem. I'm going to release the negative self-talk or whatever that's negative to it. I'm going to release it. I'm going to practice some kind of in the situation. If it's a heated conversation, I acknowledge that this is going to be a problem. I release whatever negative thought that my brain was already wired to react to. And then I'm going to practice either some breathing techniques, or I'm going to walk away, whatever it is, to break that up. And then I'm going to explore, self-reflect, meaning that I need to figure out for me, what part did I play in this? How did I get into this? I didn't say take blame. You're not going to take blame. It's just for you, because you may have left the gate open. And when you leave a gate open, the enemy is able to come in. What I mean by that gate is you lifted your boundaries. And then the E for empowerment, for you to empower yourself. Tell yourself you did good. Tell yourself, declare a thing. You don't need anybody to pat you on your back. You do it. I teach you how to celebrate yourself. So let's get into the RPI reflection. A for acknowledge. I want you to acknowledge an area where pride, ego, or needing control shows up in your life. This is your homework. You get a week's worth of homework, okay? So A for acknowledge. Acknowledge an area where pride, ego, or needing control shows up in your life. R for release. Release the need to control everything. Release the need to get all the credit or prove yourself to everyone. So we don't prove ourselves anymore. Oh no, we know our self-worth. We're not going to force somebody to know our self-worth. We're not going to prove our self-worth to anyone. No, release the need to control everything, get all the credit, or prove yourself to everyone. Release that. Then I want you to practice. This is what I want you to practice. I want you to practice humility this week. Thank people who help you. Thank people who help you. Give credit to others. Ask for help. Admit when you are wrong. Pray and thank God daily. So this is one thing that I picked up from Daniel, this is part of my daily life. The prayer 3 times a day, right? That's just what I do. Just giving God gratitude, just thankful, thanking him and being grateful for things. Gratitude. That's what I do. So do that. Practice something, humility this week. Now, when you practice humility, that does not mean that you're sitting there like, you know what, let me call my mama and thank her for 10 years ago when she did this. If you're not going to stay consistent with it, just don't go bothering folks, okay? We're learning how to, in this moment, starting today, we're not going backwards, but in this moment, starting today, When people do something, you say thank you. Just thank you. You don't have to go far and say thank you because ain't nobody ever did nothing. Just say thank you, right? Give credit to others. Don't overly give credit to others. Don't be a hater. Don't say, oh, you look good, but. Don't put the but. Work on taking the but out. When you have a conversation and y'all sitting there gossiping about, oh, pastor was sitting up there. He said a good word, but did you see? Shut up. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Ask for help. Ask for help. Because asking for help, these things that I'm giving you to practice, this is part of healing, self-awareness. This is a part of healing. This is how you heal yourself, right? By being able to be humble, asking for help. Yes, they may say they can't help you. They may say that, but you're not afraid to ask for help anymore. You know how to speak up when you need to speak. Admit when you're wrong. I didn't say go and say, yeah, I was wrong. I should take all the blame. No, that's not what you do. You're going to admit that you were wrong. Like, yeah, I could have did that better. And then pray and thank God daily. So let's get into I for inner explorer. I want you to ask yourself, would I still be the same person if I lost my title, position, money, or recognition? Would you still be the same person? That's that self-reflection. I want you to sit with that. And then in power, I want you to write this statement. I choose humility, character, and gratitude. I choose it. This is what I choose. Humility, character, and gratitude. That's going to be you. Start working on it. Now, your journaling prompt. What you're going to journal, I want you to journal at least 10 to 15 minutes. I'm teaching you how to pour into yourself, to create time for yourself. A lot of people say, I don't have time for myself. I don't have time for this. I don't have time. Well, you have to make time for the things that you want. So that means the things that you're doing, if you don't really want to do those things, cut them out. Cut it out. Well, I can't cut my kids and my family and my husband. And yeah, you can. Yes, you can. I'm a single mom. I raised 2 boys. So you already know it was a thing. So with that thing, it was like, okay, here we go. This is what mama need. I had to explain to them that I am human. I have feelings too. This is the time that I need for myself. Because I noticed I'm always yelling and fussing and was doing all this crazy stuff. And I had to tell them like, look, I don't want to be like that. It hurts me when I'm like that because I want to enjoy y'all, but I don't know how to enjoy y'all because I'm going through it myself. I don't know how to fix me. I was honest with my children. So in order for me to fix it, I had to carve out time so I can take the time to sit and evaluate, self-reflect, look at things that was unhealthy and start replacing it with healthy things. I had to learn things, listen, watching videos, listening to podcasts. I got me a therapist, things like that, because I wanted to not just be a good mom. I wanted to be a great leader, right? And I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be a better me. So make the time. You choose it. But write for 10 to 15 minutes, and I want you to journal. In what areas of my life do I need more humility? And how can humility make me a better leader? Parent, business owner, or person? Okay? Now you're also going to get your meditation prompt. You're going to sit quietly, and I want you to reflect just on this. Everything I have is a blessing and an opportunity to give God glory. Really, everything I have is a blessing and an opportunity to give God glory. Then I want you to go into your slow breathing. Now, this is what I tell you guys. 44-44. The 44-44 method is this. And even in the situations when you're doing the RPI checks and balances, when you're going through it, if you want to practice, use the 44-44. Now, you're going to breathe in 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds. Do it 4 times. Okay? So as you inhale, I want you to say to yourself, you can speak it softly, or you could just imagine it, right? I walk in humility. Exhale. I give God the glory. Repeat. Okay? And these are some things that you can repeat quietly too, just throughout the day, not even in meditation, but just throughout the day. I am humble. I am grateful. I am teachable. my character matters more than my success. So whichever one you want to choose, or if you want to say all four of them, or if you don't want to do it at all, you don't have to do it at all. But I'm just saying, this is how you rewire your brain. I told you, I'm going to teach you how to be so focused on yourself that you don't have time for any nonsense. This is how you become a better you. You change everything. You step out of that survival mode and you create your new. What do you want your new to look like? What do you want your leadership to look like? You're humble. I'm grateful. I'm teachable. And then when you see people that's not teachable, that's not grateful, that's not humble, and you see people whose character matters more than their their success matters more than their character. When you see those type of people, you know to stay away from them. You don't want anything to do with it because your character matters more than your success. You are teachable, you are grateful, and you are humble. Okay, so here's your other part of your homework. I want you to complete this before the next class. This is every Thursday. I want you to read the book of Daniel, chapter 4. I want you to write down 5 things you are grateful for, 3 people who helped you become who you are, and 2 areas where you need more humility. Now let's go back to the 3 people who helped you become who you are. If you're still in survival mode and these people have helped you wreck your life, write them down. Because who you are, even if you want to change who you are, write 3 people who helped you become the survival mode you or the healed you. It doesn't matter. Because it's something that you need to learn from that. Because I want you to take from those 3 people, right? And I want you to look at what about them that makes you want to look up to them? What characteristics do they, and then look at that and align with who you are striving to be. Does that align with who you're striving to be? Example, your mother, your aunt, and your grandma. Let's do that. That is 3 people, different generations of the grandma gossip, the mama gossip, the auntie always fighting and gossiping. They all 3 of them drink. Write the trait down. Is that why you drink? Because you've seen it? Now, who you're trying to be, are those the 3 people that you need around you? Or look at it like this. I'm going to just put it plain. Stop taking advice from people that you don't even want to be like. Okay? So the first one, you're going to read the book of Daniel's chapter 4. And then the second one, you're going to write down 5 things you are grateful for, 3 people who helped you become who you are, and 2 areas where you need more humility. Now, number 3, I want you to tell at least one person thank you this week. And stop being that person that when someone like me, Coach Nye, when I'm walking past and I say, hi, how are you doing? See, when I say, hey, how you doing? I don't keep walking real fast at a fast pace because I actually want to know how you're doing, because you never know who needed that, how you doing, you know what, and they probably going to trauma dump, but they need to, why not tell me about it? Because I know how to handle you. I'm not going to be you're not going to be codependent on me. You're not going to just sit here and just trauma dump. I'm going to get you right? So don't be that person that just walk past people. Hey, how you doing? Don't ask them how you doing if you're never going to really slow down to see if they'll respond. Or don't be the one when Coach and I walk by and I say hi and you keep walking with your rested bee face. Don't do that. Don't stop being that person. Now, this is where I give people grace when I walk past and I speak and they don't speak back. I don't even get mad. I used to get mad, but I don't get mad anymore because I give them grace, because you don't know what's on their mind. They're probably problem solving in their head. You never know what a person's going through, so let them go. So tell one person thank you this week. And then I want you to journal twice about leadership and character. And then 5, pray and thank God every day this week. Okay? Now we're going to get into our declaration. I walk in humility. I want you guys to repeat after me. I walk in humility, gratitude, and strong character. I remember that everything I have is a blessing from God. I will not be controlled by pride or ego. I am teachable, grateful, and humble. God is developing my character as He develops my leadership. I will lead with humility, wisdom, and integrity. So listen, of course, if you want to put it in the comments under the podcast or whatever you want to do, or just write it down, or you can take these as tabletop talk, T-O-P, tabletop talk. And what that is, I can't get it right. Listen, if I say it too fast, I will have it all messed up. But what this is that, as you heal and as you're learning more, you want to teach others, but you don't want to force it on them. So what this tabletop talk means that when you and your girlfriends and your homeboys or whatever, y'all link up or whatever, you can break that conversation down instead of y'all always talking about men now, because that's no longer, you're no longer enticed by that. That's no longer an appetite for that, for, sitting at the table talking about women and talking about men and relationships. You can change it up with these questions. So you can either answer it in the comments, or you can learn to have discussion. Create a group chat with your friends. Yeah. Or matter of fact, here's a better one. Take these 5 and create a journaling class with you and your friends. Because what you learn, you can teach others, right? So you guys can do a weekly journal or whatever it is. Be creative with it. But here's this. Why is pride dangerous for leaders? 2, what is the difference between confidence and pride? 3, why does God care about character more than success? 4, what does humility look like in leadership? And 5, what stood out to you in this chapter, chapter 4? So listen, I appreciate you guys for coming on. Next Thursday, we will be talking about the writing on the wall, Daniel chapter 5. So if you want to read chapter 5 ahead of time before we get to class, go ahead. But it's the writing on the wall, and that's what we'll talk about. Listen, I really appreciate you guys for attending and listening to and staying on my platform to listen and download and subscribe. And thank you so much. I ask that you guys share it out. Now, another class that I have here on this podcast, I did a Proverbs leadership through the book of Proverbs. It was 31 days, and I did a leadership course on that, so you guys can go check that out. Also on my YouTube, Chat with Coach Nye is my YouTube, Chat with Coach Nye. And over there, I teach leadership courses, so you can check out my playlist. I have the 31-day inner transformation. I have the Cozy Sunday Chat with Coach Nye. I have the Power Within, and then I have the Coach Nye Leadership Lounge, where I am currently doing the women through the women in the Bible, teaching you their different leadership traits within the Bible. And I've just started over on my TikTok, which is Chat with Coach Nye, is the Lead Her morning show. I got so many different things going on. The Lead Her morning show, I do that at 9:30 Central Time every day. And then if you miss it, I house it over on my YouTube. My YouTube is Chat with Coach Nye. My TikTok is Chat with Coach Nye. Everything is Chat with Coach Nye because it keeps it simple, right? And if you missed the daily show, you can listen to it over on my YouTube. So all you have to do is just subscribe and hit the notification bell, so when you get that notification when I upload new videos. So yeah, my Lead Her morning show is weekday 9 a.m. Also, my website is tofbootcamp.com. It's Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp, but it's shortened to tofbootcamp.com. That's where you can schedule a life coaching session. You can get some workout programs. Right now, I'm finishing up the one of the programs, which is Iron Wheel, and I'm finishing that up right now, and that will be active. But I do have a 12-week workout program, and it's actually a workbook where and it's on that site. It's a workbook, so you can work on, not only am I healing you physically, giving you your exercises for the day, I'm also healing you spiritually and mentally, because I give you homework and journaling things and different things that you can use and help. And for the ladies that wants to build a shelf back there for the summer, so you can be swinging back there, I guess, whatever. But I have a shelf building program because I specialize in glutes, so you can get that program there. And then for the ones that's at home, they can't get to a gym, I have the full body home workout program on the website as well. I got a lot of more programs coming up, but I'm saving them so they can be set up on the actual app. My app is Lead Her Movement, and I'll have that information out there so you guys can join the tribe. Because in this community, I don't like to say community, because community is really just a place where people just come, gather to get this, they have the same likes and they get the same information because that's what they're there for, and then they leave. But a tribe come together for the same information, but to build and to grow. So that's what I'm building, a tribe. So everyone will have their own profile page that they can go and scroll, and they can add things to the community, meaning post something, but it's going to be something that's going to help the next person. I am a leader. I am the coach that's going to save the world. In order to save the world, I have to teach you how to heal. So I'm a leader. I develop other leaders. I sharpen your iron, you sharpen my iron. And that's what I'm teaching over there, teaching people what about real friendship. I'm bringing that back, bringing real friendship, real love, real help back, true help, right? So that's what that whole tribe is going to be all about. But go to my tofbootcamp.com, subscribe to my email list so you can get all the updates when that come. And then I do weekly homework assignments as well that I email out from my website. So yeah, go subscribe to my website, tofbootcamp.com. Listen, I really appreciate you guys. Once again, if no one told you today, I'm telling you now, I love you. I love you. And I am proud of you. Remember to pour into yourself before you pour into others. And if you want to purchase my book, it is Trinity Walk to Self-Love. It's a journal. Trinity Walk to Self-Love. It is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart website. Listen, enjoy the rest of your day. Coach Nye out. God's plan.